Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC. Congressman Frank Acom, Big Fox Corning. A quick question for you. I know that you have a lot of, in your district, you have a lot of members of Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. I'm so glad that you've joined us this morning. We've got a very busy show. We are going to hear from Congressman Nick Langworthy. He did a press conference yesterday in regards to a bill that he's proposed. We're going to hear about that. I had an opportunity to ask him a question as well. We'll make sure to play that. Then later on in the broadcast, we are going to hear from Elmira College about their upcoming dance marathon. So we have a lot going on this morning, a lot of visuals, a lot of audio. So I think you'll be glad that you joined us. We've got a lot to cover, though, so let's get right to it. Iran has intensified its attacks on the Gulf Arab neighbors' energy infrastructure early this morning, This came in about an hour before we went live with this broadcast, setting Qatari liquefied natural gas facilities and 2 Kuwaiti oil refineries ablaze as it hit back following an Israeli attack on its main natural gas field. A major escalation in the Middle East war that has sent global fuel prices soaring. A ship burned off the coast of the United Arab Emirates and another was damaged off of Qatar, underscoring the ever-present danger facing vessels due to Iran's stranglehold on the Strait of Hormuz. Qatar, a key source of natural gas for world markets, said firefighters put out a blaze at a major LNG facility after it was hit by Iranian missile attacks. Production had already been halted there after earlier attacks, but it said the latest wave of missiles caused sizable fires and extensive further damage. Damage to the facility could delay Qatar in getting its supplies to the market even after the Iran war ends. Now, this came off the back of Trump threatening to massively blow up Iran gas fields if they launch another retaliatory attack over Israel's strike. So we'll be watching closely to what this all means. He said in a Truth Social post, in which he also pledged that Israel would no longer target Iran's coastal Persian Gulf oil and gas infrastructure. He said Israel violently lashed out at a major facility known as South Pars gas field in Iran out of anger for what had taken place in the Middle East. The United States knew nothing about the particular attack, and the country of Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did it have any idea that it was going to happen. Noting that a relatively small section of the whole was hit. Unfortunately, Iran did not know this or any of the pertinent facts pertaining to the South Pars attack and unjustifiably and unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's LNG gas facility. No more attacks will be made by Israel pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field unless Iran unwisely decides to attack a very innocent, in this case, Qatar, in which instance the United States of America, with or without the help or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field at an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before. The president insisted he does not want to authorize this level of violence and destruction because of the long-term implications that it will have on the future of Iran. But if Qatar's LNG is again attacked, I will not hesitate to do so. So we will be watching that very closely this morning. Also breaking last night, the United States detected drones over the base where Rubio and Hegseth live. This coming in late last night. This is being reported by the Washington Post. They were citing 3 people briefed on the situation. The officials have not determined where the drones came from, citing 2 of the people. The drones over Fort McNair prompted officials to weigh relocating Rubio and Hegseth, according to the report. However, the secretaries have not moved, citing a senior administration official. The newspaper said the U.S. military was monitoring potential threats more closely because of the heightened alert level over the U.S. and Israeli war against Iran. So there you are. There are some of your breaking stories from early this morning, late last night. We're going to talk about Iran more in depth a little bit later on. Now, the Federal Reserve did hold interest rates steady amid the Iran war and the mixed economic signals. They held their interest rates steady Wednesday as the war in Iran and conflicting economic signals continued to throw snags in a path to rate cuts, while Fed Chair Jerome Powell said he would stay on until his successor is confirmed. The central bank, which voted 11-1 to keep rates between 3.5% and 3.75%, nodded to uncertainty around the Middle East conflict, with Powell joking that if there was ever a meeting to skip economic projections, this would be a good one because we just don't know. All right. Now, there's some of the breaking stories. We have a couple of oddball ones that we need to get to before we talk about Iran, and we have a lot of New York State updates as well. So make sure you stay with us for the full 2 hours. Now, this is something to keep in mind. We talk about kind of the indoctrination in the education system quite frequently. And we saw that rise of anti-Semitism recently, and we talked about how many professors and teachers and the like got fired or reprimanded or whatever the case may be because of their sickening attacks on Charlie Kirk. So it became so evident, and everybody in this audience had known about it for a very long time, about the indoctrination and the level of the far left that has perpetrated let's reword that. They have essentially taken over the education system from kindergarten all the way up through the end of higher education through college. And this indoctrination, whether it's the anti-Semitism, whether it's just far left beliefs, we've known about it for a long time, but it's become crystal clear to, I think, people that weren't even perhaps wanting to know about the issue. It became so prevalent that they said, okay, I'm helping, this was under Biden, I'm helping to pay these college tuitions while the kids are skipping class and intimidating other students so that they can't study because of their anti-Semitic beliefs. Well, the reason I bring this all up is because we talk about the education, the failures in many ways of the education system. This may have something to do with this report. It turns out that Gen Zers aren't universally happy. Outside, let me reword it. The following Let's see, Aries. Let's see, the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. The Gen Zers are not happy. Now, outside of those 4 countries, people under 25 reported increasing feelings of happiness over the last decade. This is according to the 14th edition of the World Happiness Report. Authors of the annual report aren't sure why there's a happiness gap, but they believe it might have to do with social media use. It seems that these feeds are not really nourishing young minds, bodies, or souls. Quote, we still don't know why the youth happiness drop has been so much larger in those countries than elsewhere. Well, yeah, social media use, but also if you're being told every day in school that you live in the worst country in the world, at the worst time in the world, being run by the worst president in history, doom and gloom could set in. It is not because social media use is much higher there than anywhere else, as it is almost universally everywhere among Gen Z. Some of the increases may reflect differences in how social media are used in those countries, all of which are in the English-speaking orbit. So yes, do I believe that social media plays a role in this? I do. But I also believe the reason that Gen Zers in the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, but specifically the United States, because we know what they're being taught here, you cannot be inundated with hate, with anger, day in and day out, and feel happiness or an extra level of happiness. I just thought that was the U.S., by the way, ranked 24th in 2024, 23rd in 2023, 15th in 2022, 16th, et cetera, et cetera. Just something I think kind of pertains to what we've been talking about with the education system. And I didn't want to just one-off that real quick and not bring it to you, but we do have a lot of other issues to get to. I'm going to have to take our first break. I see a lot of comments coming in. We've got some other just kind of interesting tidbits before we talk more about Iran, talk more about DHS, the funding of DHS, which is why we will hear later from Congressman Nick Langworthy, specifically in regards to the TSA. So we'll hear from him. As I said, Elmira College is going to join us. If you would like to weigh in, and we have yet to bring this up, on the sad news of Brown's Cigar Store here in Corning, a staple of Corning, the heartbeat, many would argue, of Corning, closing. It looks as if they will be closing after 137 years due to an infraction where they did not ID someone that was 20, because you have to be 21 now, and because that was their second infraction in 3 years, according to reports, the state essentially is going to shut them down. After 137 years, a place where if you've ever been involved in a charity in Corning and you had to sell tickets, it would always say on the poster, you could purchase them from a member of the committee, of the fundraising committee, or at Brown's Cigar Store. So I haven't mentioned that yet, but I see that starting to make the rounds in the media, and I would love to hear your take on it because I know some of the viewers here and I have met at Brown's Cigar Store for a good cigar. So would love to hear your thoughts on that as well. But we got to take a short break. Ooh, got a lot of comments coming in. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tubs and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
To the used to be, before talking to 988.
I felt alone.
I thought seeing hard things was just part of the job. I thought that having a bad day at work meant I was failing. But then I connected with someone at 988.
A real person texted back. Someone listened without judgment.
Now I know. Now I know it's okay to let someone help me too.
And I'm stronger than I thought.
We hear you. Call, text, or chat 988.
It's Monday again, but I love this job. It was hard to get though. No one gave me a chance.
I found a problem, it fixed.
Perfect. Thank you, Joshua.
Aren't you glad we hired him?
Yes, I am.
Don't underestimate people with disabilities. Visit thearc.org/yes to see what's possible.
There, after a couple of cooler days, we do return near average today in the mid-40s with mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, bottoming out in those upper 20s and low 30s. Will be generally dry, and then on Friday, this is where we have the opportunity for some showers arriving in the afternoon, topping off in the low 50s. Rain continuing Friday night into Saturday. Then we have additional showers possible on Sunday. The weekend features 50s, a bit cooler by Monday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. Price of oil reaches Price of oil reaches $140 a barrel. Price of gas in the U.S. is up 20%. Fertilizer, also a large export, reached a record high. This was the effect of Russia's invasion of Ukraine when Biden was the president. Did you hear your news outlets reporting how terrible it was and wanted the war to end so prices in America could come down? No. Rather, you saw Ukrainian flags all over social media and support for whatever had to be done. Iran chants death to America. President Trump offers Iran all the nuclear material they want for energy creation, and he'll give it to them for free. They turn him down because everybody knows they want to have nuclear weapons they can use against the United States. If you were willing to endure price increases to help a country across the world, you ought to be willing to endure a temporary price increase to protect your family from one day becoming nothing more than a shadow burnt into concrete. I think that's a very good point. I also, I know I mentioned this a lot. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. I know, hold on. We've talked about this a lot. Wow. Where, again, you raise a great point about the Ukrainian flag was everywhere. You saw businesses, and rightfully so. But where are the protesters? Where is the support for the people of Iran that have been brutalized by that regime for over 4 decades? You raise such a good point there, just on that level. Across the board, you do. But I think that's so important to reiterate that these same people that lectured us about, do you care enough about Ukraine, are now mysteriously silent about the people of Iran. Okay, Jack says, thanks for the heads up on the gas going up overnight. It sure did. Here in Sebring, Florida, just turned $4 to $4.10 a gallon. One chain says $3.83. I'm going there now, but still able to watch the show live. Well, thanks, Jack. Fill up. All right, here's a weird one. A new White House URL is out of this World Wide Web. Leave it to the New York Post to put it that way. They just registered a website, a .gov website, the White House did, with the domain name aliens.gov. That has been added to the federal government's official website registry. This amplifies speculation that President Trump could be gearing up to pull back the curtain on what U.S. intelligence agencies really know about whether we're alone in the universe. Though the website is not yet live, the government has reserved the domain name for an as-yet unknown purpose. Again, aliens.gov. The revelation came after it was flagged by an automated tracker of new federal websites on Wednesday, almost exactly a month since the president said he would order top administration officials to identify and release government files related to UFOs and extraterrestrials. Quote, based on the tremendous interest shown, I'll be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to aliens and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, and unidentified flying objects, and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters, he wrote on Truth Social. So as of right now, and I don't want to go through the whole history of it, of what else Trump had to say, but aliens.gov has been registered for all of you people out there that loved our Bigfoot stories and now our alien stories. I had to bring that to you. Okay, speaking of aliens, James Carville, who has been really off the reservation lately. My goodness, we had that very uncomfortable prayer recently that he made, literally a prayer to God that he would be filled with more hatred for Donald Trump, more, in his words, Trump derangement syndrome. Then we had some pretty crazy comments the other day. I can't remember what they were in reference to. Well, now he published a video that he predicts. Oh, yeah, he was criticizing somebody about getting all their predictions wrong. Yeah, he predicts that Donald Trump will resign by this time next year after the midterm elections. That's right. Here we go. So the other day, Carville said that John Fetterman had been on the wrong side of history this whole time. And yet here we have a man who is now predicting that President Trump is going to step down after the midterms. This is also a man that told you that Kamala Harris was going to win and that Hillary Clinton was going to win, et cetera, et cetera. He said Trump will be gone sooner than you think. Everything that he tries blows up in his face. And I'm telling you, I think he's just going to quit next year by this time. I think he's just going to blanking walk away because the Democrats control the House and the Senate. He suggested that no one's going to pay attention to him. The fiscal condition of the country he is in is beyond in the ditch. The Iran thing has turned into just a catastrophe of the first order. Again, I've got a great piece later on talking about don't believe the media hype. They want you to think that we are losing this. They do not want to see Trump succeed in anything. And then we learn about leader after leader in Iran that is being taken out. We learn about all the moves that have been made that were successful if you do your research and don't just trust on the CNNs and the mainstream medias of the world. So they are I think we hit 20 days this morning. In 20 days, you would think it's the longest war in history and that it is, I guess, maybe to word it this way, this generation's Vietnam. But I'll continue. The White House did respond to this and called Carville a stone-cold loser that suffers from Trump derangement syndrome. And, well, he admitted that. He literally prayed to the Lord that he would receive more hatred for Trump. This is what the White House said. James Carville is a stone-cold loser who clearly suffers from a severe and debilitating case of Trump derangement syndrome. The president was elected with a resounding mandate to reverse disastrous Biden-era policies and unleash a new era of prosperity for our country. And it's clear that he has delivered for Americans with a secure border, cooling inflation, working-class tax cuts, new trade deals, new drug pricing deals, trillions in investments, and peace through strength policies that eliminate national security threats to our nation. Only deranged Democrats like James Carville could oppose all these wins for the American people. Wow. There you are. So his prediction, do you agree with James Carville that after the midterms, Trump is going to say, no, now I've had enough. After all this, after all he stood to lose, running 3 times, he is now going to say it's just too much. And you're starting to see more of this as the midterms arrive. I'm not going to read this all, but the Spectre has a piece by Christopher Caldwell that says it's the end of Trumpism. That MAGA is over. Boy, we have these, I think we could say daily, but let's just be conservative, as we always are. Once a week, that it's the end of MAGA. And it goes through and just insults Trump at the very beginning. I don't want to read it all, but yes, the end, if you were not aware, the end of Trumpism. But if you look at it, I don't know if you saw this. This is coming from CNN. Their chief data analyst, Harry Enton, he completely dismissed the narrative of a MAGA split because they keep telling us there's going to be this split. The MAGA is so upset about Iran that it's all over. It's all over but the shouting that MAGA's done. Just like the Spectre said, the end of Trumpism. So if you tune into the mainstream media, Trump is maybe going to leave office. That he's not mainstream, but that we're losing in Iran. That MAGA now hates Trump, which we've heard from day one for some reason. But when I return, I'm going to tell you what Harry Enton had to say, dismissing that all essentially with a laugh. So stay with us. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in, and I'll go fix that microphone that I just made a lot of noise with. And we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
Allegiance from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.
For years, I thought it was just stress. But then it felt like I was stuck in a state of panic, obsessed with worry that something bad would happen if I didn't complete endless rituals. I realized I couldn't solve this on my own. So I made the call. I found a doctor who diagnosed me with OCD. Little by little, she's helping me manage my symptoms. Now I'm able to live more in the present.
Mental health care works when you make the call.
Everyone has a ritual, that small thing that keeps us focused. A habit we never skip to clear our minds and elevate our performance.
But what do you do to keep your head in the game, to drown out the self-doubt and support your mental health? Because being your best isn't just about taking care of your body.
It's about taking care of your mind and mental health. Discover the resources you need to keep your mind focused and your mental health a priority.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer: Trump has a special relationship with Argentina. They're sending ships to save Europe because Europe is weak, worthless, and irrelevant. Trump has put a spotlight on their failures to pay NATO and the United Nations, yet they spend the most money, no more. Thank you very much. So as I mentioned, if you watch the mainstream media, MAGA is split. Which, when did the, and I'm not trying to insult anybody if these are people that you watch, but when did the kind of the far right, and I don't like that term. What's the term I want to use? Because I don't really consider them necessarily conservative or right or even MAGA, the Tucker Carlsons of the world. Some of the names I don't even know that they tell us are all these huge influencers, and I'm not suggesting they don't get a lot of views, but I've never thought of them as the voice, if you will, of the MAGA movement whatsoever. But because they, a handful of them, 4 or 5, like for instance, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a name that's thrown around. Again, that because they don't like the Iran war, that MAGA is all over, that it's destroyed. But listen to what Harry Enton, again from CNN, had to say. He completely dismissed the narrative of MAGA's split, with polls showing President Trump, this is amazing, is enjoying 100% support from his Republican base. Now, I could see people writing in, Frank, what kind of propaganda are you reading? CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton says that President Trump is enjoying 100% support from his Republican base. Enton said, get this quote, "Sometimes you look at the polling data and there are numbers that just jump off the screen at you. And this is one of them. Trump's 100% approval rating among Republicans who identify as MAGA." And you know what's interesting? CNN's talking about it, but you know where the actual survey came from? NBC News. So 2 of the legacy mainstream media outlets have both had to report that Trump has 100% approval among Republicans who identify as MAGA. Enton said you don't have to be a mathematical genius to know you can't go higher than 100%. He is, meaning Trump, he is the 1972 Miami Dolphins, which, of course, the 72 Dolphins was the perfect team, having an undefeated season. The polling comes as an unfounded narrative has emerged claiming Make America Great Again Republicans are fracturing over the Iran war and Jeffrey Epstein and some of these other things. Enton noted that there are some Republicans who disapprove of Trump, but they are not part of the MAGA movement. Yeah, they're the people that have been against him from the beginning, the never Trumpers. That has always been, we see them in Washington. It's why we're having such trouble getting the Save America passed and so many other bills. It's because you have people who have always known better for the Republicans than the conservatives. What I mean is they're the same people that told you the only way we can win is John McCain. The only way we can win is with Mitt Romney. The only way we can win, and you remember this is when I've said this theory a million times, is when people threw up their hands and said, you know what, we're going with Trump. It's when they told us Jeb Bush was the only way we could win. And the Republicans said, we're sick of losing. And they said, we'll give this new guy a try. Yeah, he's a little unorthodox, but you know what? The orthodox is not doing it for us anymore. So we're sick of losing. So they went with Trump. So this idea that there are some Republicans that yes, the never Trumpers have been there from the beginning. They're still there, a lot of them, but luckily they're being weeded out. But the bottom line is this, Eaton said. If you are a member of MAGA, you approve of Donald Trump. Further dispelling the MAGA split narrative, Enton pointed out that the president's base of support within the GOP is not shrinking, but actually slightly larger than it was in 2024. So his popularity, his support amongst Republicans, or the president's base of support amongst the GOP is not shrinking like we have been told now for over a year and 3 months. Almost to the day. A year and 3 months, or a year and 2 months, excuse me. So a year and 2 months, we've been told over and over that we were told during the presidential election too, but that the GOP is shrinking on Trump. They don't like him. MAGA doesn't like him. It's actually slightly larger than it was in 2024. The poll showing Trump's perfect level of support also found that 30% of Americans currently identify as MAGA, up from 28% in November of 2024. The theme of this segment is Tucker Carlson be darned, Eaton said, referring to the conservative commentator who has been outspoken in his opposition of the Iran war, so much so that Trump recently declared he's not MAGA. The bottom line is that the MAGA base within the GOP is not shrinking. If anything, it is slightly larger than it was back in 2024. Again, that is Eaton. So, again, disproving the media's lies and the narrative. And I just thought that was such an important point because they are inundating us, especially before the midterm, that MAGA is against them. And again, Tucker Carlson, and I don't want to go on a tangent on this because I know we have fans, I'm sure, out there of Tucker Carlson. If you look at Tucker Carlson's history, going back, and I remember watching Crossfire all those years ago with his bow tie, he was all about Tucker Carlson at the time, and I still believe that's what we're seeing today. And he's getting a lot of hits, he's getting a lot of likes because he's saying he's going against the party. It's no different than a Liz Cheney. It's no different than a Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has found a niche where they think that they're going to be successful, and they are in kind of a fringe circle. But I would never, ever, having followed Trump's career, ever considered Tucker Carlson the voice of MAGA. I would actually say that's insulting to those that suggest that. He's never been the voice of MAGA. Tucker Carlson has always been the voice of Tucker Carlson, and that means whatever's best and most politically expedient, but more importantly, more financially expedient, is which way the wind blows with Tucker. And that goes back to the Crossfire days, and I'm sure before. Okay, we have a couple other, I know I went on a couple tangents there. Since we're talking about politics, and we're going to get to Iran, did you watch the Markwayne Mullen confirmation hearing? Kind of went down a rabbit hole. Rand Paul, not a big fan of his. He's going to be a no vote. I think we know that. We are learning a few things. Speaking of Tucker Carlson, which, what a waste of time. Joe Kent did a long interview with Tucker. There's a couple takeaways from that. But now we learn, and we said, Joe Kent, Why did he release that letter? What is going on? Well, we learned that he is under FBI investigation for alleged classified leaks. Interesting how your opinions change on things, how you want to make a name for yourself when something like that breaks. Okay, a couple of really quick hits before we take a break. The U.S. House of Representatives passed legislation yesterday to crack down on illegal immigrants participating in welfare fraud, despite fierce objections from most Democrats. Think of this. 186 Democrats opposed cracking down on illegal immigrants participating in welfare fraud. How do you justify that vote? It would amend the Immigration and Nationality Act to explicitly define fraud as a deportable offense. Republicans said the legislation is necessary to ensure that non-citizens who steal taxpayer dollars are no longer eligible for immigration relief services or legal protections. Tom McClintock said if you admit to or you're convicted of fraudulently receiving public benefits, you're out of here on the next plane and can never return. But again, so you're involved in this fraud like we've seen in Minnesota, and we're learning more, and luckily we've got J.D. Vance working on fraud as we speak in places like right here in New York and other major areas, that if you participate in welfare fraud, you will be deported if you're an illegal immigrant. And 186 Democrats opposed that measure. Is there even a quote? Oh, there we go. Jamie Raskins. Let's see how they defend this. Representative Jamie Raskins, Democrat from Maryland, said another redundant and completely unnecessary immigration crime bill. By bypassing the conviction requirement, this legislation would hand a liberal get-out-of-jail-free card to immigrants who commit fraud by deporting them without going through the criminal justice system and giving their victims a day in court. Well, that's one way of looking at it. Okay. David, now, got to take a break. All right, keep those comments coming in. We've been talking about Iran, but we're going to dive deeper into Iran. A lot of New York State issues, and we have one guest from Elmira College to talk about the dance marathon, and then we're going to hear a clip from Congressman Langworthy in the next hour as well. So we are very busy. Get all your comments, all your waves in, so we make sure we have an opportunity to read them. We will be right back.
It's the home of creativity. Release your inner audio engineer. Create with the 3D printer. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine rentals. Or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to your local library today.
Tired of cold weather? Sunny days are closer than you think. Get ready now for fun later with a boat, camper, or RV loan from Servview Credit Union at just 5.99% APR for up to 10 years. Adventure is waiting. Apply today.
$828 million people around the world go hungry every day, even though the world produces enough food to feed them. Early on, I knew I wanted to figure out better ways to get food to people who are hungry. What started out as volunteering became my life's work. What might surprise people is that this experience intertwines every day with my experience at Rotary. I've married my mission with my job, making an impact daily on this issue that I care about. And over the years, as a member of Rotary, I know I'm creating solutions. Whatever you care about, whatever is important to you, Rotary is a way to multiply the impact that you're going to have. Rotarians truly are changing the world through the work that they're doing.
There, after a couple of cooler days, we do return near average today in the mid-40s with mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, bottoming out in those upper 20s and low 30s, will be generally dry. And then on Friday, this is where we have the opportunity for some showers arriving in the afternoon, topping off in the low 50s. Rain continuing Friday night into Saturday. Then we have additional showers possible on Sunday. The weekend features 50s, a bit cooler by Monday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Let's see. Mark writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. They sure did drill Mark Wayne and Gillibrand, Gabbard. I'm sorry. It looked like autocorrect there. And, Gabbard in their hearings. They asked Gabbard if Iran was a threat to the U.S., and she kept answering that that's the president's question. It's not up for her to decide. I did see that. There are a couple highlights from that. Thank you, Mark. Comment from a different viewer. Jack says, as I drove up to get gas, the price is $3.73.9. I got out and it went to $3.78. I got my card in before it could go up again. This is wild. Thank you, Jack. All right, quick couple things. The Mark Wayne. Okay. That was interesting. Let me just jump there because Mark went there. So Mark Wayne Mullins' record in Congress, they didn't necessarily, Democrats bungled their chance to disseminate that, instead opting to turn the Department of Homeland Security Secretary's nominee confirmation hearing into a debate with Republicans over the agency's ongoing shutdown, the 2020 election, and the legitimacy of immigration and customs enforcement. And then, of course, you had Rand Paul trying to get his moment there. And again, Mullen had gotten very angry with Paul at one point and suggested that he could see why Paul's neighbor attacked him. Well, needless to say, Rand Paul took that very personal. Mullins fielded attack from Rand Paul. Senate Democrats pressed him on the 2020 election, whether he had traveled overseas while in Congress, and statements made by President Trump's senior advisor Stephen Miller, among other things. In one bizarre line of questioning, once rising Democratic star Senator Elisa Slotkin, who delivered the response address to Trump's address to Congress last year, claimed that the president is preventing the United States from free and fair elections and suggested he would try and steal another election in the future. Slotkin said, I would just say that if we ever get to the point where you are being asked to put armed ICE officers at polling locations, we have lost the plot as a country. What a way to put that, trying to be hip. We lost the plot as a country. Okay. We have fundamentally lost it. Until I hear someone tell me that this man, President Trump, will actually allow us to have free and fair elections, there is zero trust here. I cannot trust that he won't try and steal again. You haven't heard anybody say that Trump is going to have, that we are going to have a free and fair election? You haven't heard anybody say that? I don't want to go through all this because I feel like we're going to fall into the trap where we're just making quotes. But I know that Paul is a no, Rand Paul is a no. Mark Wayne Mullins confirmation hearing saying that he has a anger management issue. Paul said, you never had the courage to look me in the eye and tell me the assault was justified. And while you're at it, explain to the American public why they could trust a man with anger issues. Mullen addressed Paul directly, saying, seems like you fight Republicans more than you work with us. I did address those remarks. I did explain your gimmicks by the amendment you put forth. He added, I don't think anybody should be hit by surprise. I don't like that. But if I do have something to say, everybody in the room knows that. I'll come straight to you. I'm not scared of a challenge. I'm scared of failure, he told Paul. So we could talk more about that if you watched any of that. I do want to get your opinion on this. We're going to breeze through some things quickly. Oh, no. We'll wait on that. Okay. Over the next several days, perhaps even stretching into weeks, the United States Senate, that grave and august deliberative body, will performatively waste time with impassioned speeches over the Save America Act, which they all know will never pass. There may, however, be an off-ramp. A proposal from Senator John Fetterman would have the upper body vote on a clean, simple voter ID bill without provisions regarding mail-in ballots or citizenship. David Marcus likes this idea, but he said, make no mistake, Trump is correct that all the provisions of the Save America Act, including one banning men from women's sports, have broad popular support and are of vital importance. But if the bill cannot pass, then so what? The reason the act can't pass, as we all know by now, is the filibuster rule. To the average voter, that sounds like the Senate is saying, sorry, we can't do anything, but you see, we made up this rule that says we can't do anything, so our hands are tied. One must ask, isn't the whole point of a filibuster to push senators towards compromise, toward a bill both popular and sound enough to carry the 60-vote threshold? This is where Fetterman's clean vote ID legislation comes in. Even without the provision regarding citizenship and mail-in voting, a law requiring a valid voter ID to vote in federal elections would be a major victory for Republicans and potentially a first step toward greater election reform. Politically speaking, Such a clean voter ID bill would put Democrats in a much tougher bind than they are in today because they lose every one of their somewhat plausible sounding objections to the Save America Act. As silly and frankly condescending as Democrats' arguments that married women and poor people are too dumb or frazzled to obtain proof of citizenship are, we have all stood in line at the DMV or passport office and can glimpse a grain of truth in it. But a clean voter ID bill that accepts military and a variety of other forms of identification takes all of those objections off the table. It forced Democrats to admit that they do not want even the slightest scrutiny over who votes. The American people neither need nor desire a week of pointless speeches about a bill that can't pass. Instead, let the Senate do some actual work and at the very least pass a simple, popular, and effective voter ID bill. All right, that was one piece. Your thought on that? Also, do we want to talk? I have to mention this quickly. Democrat Illinois Senate candidate Raja Krishnamurthy is, as we're going to hear a lot before November, campaigning on affordability. Democrat Illinois senatorial candidate Raja Krishnamurthy talking to you about affordability. And then we learn on Tuesday, and it's going to be a tough race, Krishnamurthy supporters had to pay nearly $13 for a water and $22 for a glass of wine at an event at a Chicago hotel while watching the returns come in from the primary. All right, there you go. So it's very much like Hochul, preaching affordability, and then we see the climate policies, which we will get to in a moment. By the way, this is interesting. Coming from Daniel Farr, 2 Republicans now lead the race for California's next governor as a new poll puts pressure on the Democrats. California Democrats were warned to get their act together months ago. Back off, consolidate, pick a front runner, or risk splitting the vote. They ignored that advice. Now the numbers are in and the results are brutal. A new UC Berkeley LA Times poll shows the 2026 race for governor is a total mess for Democrats. Support is scattered across a crowded field, while Republicans Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco have quietly pulled ahead. Wow. Not a single Democrat tops 13%, while the GOP contenders sit in the high teens. 16% of voters remain undecided, leaving the door wide open for a historic upset. Well, that's why when you have people like Eric Swalwell, not a strong candidate. But a political earthquake that few saw coming could be just around the corner. Okay, I'm not going to talk. You can, if you want to, we could talk about Joe Kent. Maybe we'll just talk about it quickly, and then I want to get to Iran. We're getting ready to wrap up this hour of today's edition, but we have so much to cover in the next hour too. So asking you to stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Good job, buddy. Hey, buddy. It's time. Gotta go. Listen, I could be there in 15 minutes. Yep, see you soon. All right, you know the drill. Your brother could always do it. That's what I thought.
I just wanted to stop.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. We have a lot of comments coming in. I don't know. If you don't mind, we're going to save it for the next segment. We'll wrap up hour number 1 with all of your comments. I didn't have a chance. I was filling up my tea. I apologize. But we'll get to them. So keep them coming in so we can end this hour with viewer comments. So yes, Joe Kent, who we talked about yesterday, did an interview with Tucker Carlson. So CNN wanted to make sure to bring it to you because a warning that key decision makers couldn't express opinions to Trump ahead of war. That no intelligence Iran was going to launch a sneak attack, even though he said in the past that they were a threat. Repeated claims that Israel drew U.S. into the Iran war. Details of his resignation conversation with Trump. I mean, now all of a sudden he got exactly what he wanted. He's a useful idiot that they will parade around to badmouth Trump. And it gets Tucker Carlson somehow a soapbox on CNN. But we learned, as somewhat predicted yesterday, the FBI is investigating former National Counterterrorism Center Director Joe Kent over allegations that he leaked classified information, according to 3 sources familiar with the matter. The probe predates, this is important, the probe predates Kent's departure from government. So a lot of this is starting to add up. You give an insulting resignation letter, someone that proved he shouldn't have been in the Trump administration if that's how he felt. But he does that as this probe had already begun. Now you see why he's trying to make a name for himself, make it maybe a little money out on the way out the door with interviews. Now, they asked J.D. Vance about Joe Kent's resignation. He said, "It's one thing to have a disagreement of opinion. I know the president very well. He welcomes differences of opinion. He likes it when people express their views about what should happen. He listens to everybody. It's one of the great things I like about him is that whether you're the gardener at Mar-a-Lago or whether you're the Secretary of State, the president cares about what you think about an issue. He recognizes that everybody has smarts and everybody has wisdom. That said, whatever your view is, when the president of the United States makes a decision, it's your job to help make that decision as effective and successful as possible." And so the president said this yesterday. If you are on the team and you can't help implement the decisions of this administration, he has the right to make those decisions. Then it's a good thing for you to resign. And I think that's exactly right. It's fine to disagree, but once the president makes a decision, it's up to everybody who serves in this administration to make it as successful as possible. That's how I do my job. I think that's how everybody in the administration should do their job. Yeah, I thought that's a very good point. Now, yesterday, sadly, President Trump did pay his respects to the returning remains of 6 U.S. service members killed in an airplane refueling crash last week. This is his second such grim homecoming ceremony since launching the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran. Trump saluted the flag-draped caskets as they were unloaded at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, joined by House Speaker Mike Johnson and Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth. The event was closed to the media, the news media, at the request of the families of those killed over western Iraq, but photos were later released by the White House on their X account, saying the White House, this is what they captioned, President Donald J. Trump attended the dignified transfer of 6 American heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice in a refueling plane crash while serving our nation. May God bless them and their families. In honor of Major John A. Klinner, Captain Irina G. Savino, Tech Sergeant Ashley B. Pruitt, Captain Seth R. Koval, Captain Curtis J. Angst, and Tech Sergeant Tyler H. Simmons. And just to, I guess, outrage you, right before we take a break, Senator Tammy Duckworth from Illinois claimed, I don't even like reading this, claimed that President Donald Trump had wasted the lives of U.S. military personnel who died in service tied to the Iran operation. Quote, "Well, just absolute fury that this man expended the lives of our heroes, the people who are willing to do something he was never willing to do himself, which is serve in uniform for a war of choice. That did not have to happen. He wasted those lives. Do you know our men and women in the military will step up and do their jobs to the best of their ability every single time? But that means that we have the responsibility, those of us in the legislative branch, to make those decisions about war. And Donald Trump launched a war without coming to Congress, without looking at the consequences. And as a result of it, the 11 brave men and women in uniform have died. Gas prices have gone through the roof. Americans are less safe than they were before he launched the war. Wasted lives. We've got a lot to talk about with Iran, but we're going to read your comments when we return. We've got, in the next hour, New York State updates. We're going to talk to Elmira College. We're going to talk to, well, kind of. We talked to him yesterday, Congressman Nick Langworthy. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Ferrari Auto Team! Google reviews rank Ferrari Ram the highest customer experience Ram dealer in our area. Returning Stellantis lessee, lease a 2026 Ram 1500 Bighorn with Hurricane engine or Hemi V8. Just $499 per month. $19.99 due at signing. Only $499 a month and it's yours. With America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Check out all your Ram favorites during Ram Truck Month.
If you don't see me, I can't save you any money.
Visit Ferrari Ram in Elmira now.
Bottles and formula?
Got it.
Extra diapers?
Not making that mistake again. Got it.
A 3-day supply of non-perishable food for each person in your household in case the power goes out? You may be prepared for a lot of situations, but a natural disaster might not be one of them. Convoy of Hope can help make sure you're ready when disaster strikes. Convoy of Hope, providing hope in every storm.
I don't think all that's going to fit in there.
There, after a couple of cooler days, we do return near average today in the mid-40s with mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, bottoming out in those upper 20s and low 30s. Will be generally dry, and then on Friday, this is where we have the opportunity for some showers arriving in the afternoon, topping off in the low 50s. Rain continuing Friday night into Saturday. Then we have additional showers possible on Sunday. The weekend features 50s, a bit cooler by Monday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam. Brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A couple comments from viewers. During the debate, Crockett and her comrades had me yelling at the TV like some fool. The way they try to take credit for what Trump has done to correct the mess they made, and then the way they tried to put the blame on Trump for the current mess that they created just makes me hopping mad. I understand it. It's tough to watch sometimes when you get into the... Well, we're hearing it in some of the comments that I've read already. Comment from a different viewer. Please repeat the piece about Browns. What representatives, local, county, or state, are stepping up to help them? A lot are stepping up to help and do what they can. Brown Cigar Store, a staple here in Corning, been here 136 years. I think my math was wrong. I thought it was 135, but 136 years. The heart of the Gafford District, the heart of Market Street, where if you are a charitable organization, you had a fundraiser, they always sold your tickets. They always had the kettle for the Salvation Army, you name it. It was a great place to solve all the world's problems over a cigar. Well, they are closing down. There's not a hard date set, but it could be as early as April 1st because they had, within 3 years, 2 infractions where they did not check an ID. So they had, the health department does essentially a sting operation where they send in, a 20-year-old that looks 40. And then if they don't check their ID, they got you kind of, someone maybe even argue entrapment. I don't know. That might be a word that some people use, but so they go in. So twice in 3 years, they got stung on that. They admitted their mistake. They owned it, and it did not matter. The health department essentially shutting them down after 136 years of serving this community. So. And now I know what many of you are saying is, what about all these illegal pot shops that are up everywhere? Yeah, I guess they're not to be bothered. Make sure to go after the little guy that's been paying taxes for 136 years. That's where the problem is. So, having said that, there are representatives local, but more state, because of the state issue, are working on it to see what can be done. A lot of it is out of their hands because of the nature of the we'll try to get as much information for it on that, because I don't want to speak out of school on that. But we're learning along with you. But I know it's been making the media rounds, and I wanted to pass that along to you because I've had many great conversations with, frankly speaking, viewers, and in the past, radio listeners had great conversations over a brown cigar store, again, solving all the world's problems. Look, listen to this nice statement. Thank you from Browns to all Frankly Speaking fans for your support. Isn't that nice? We got some representatives from Browns. Thank you from Browns to all Frankly Speaking fans for your support. I know there's a lot of support right now. The outpouring is amazing. You're seeing it. I'm not someone that likes to talk about social media reactions, but to see the reaction on social media, yes, you have that person that wants to be a contrarian, yeah, every once in a while, but it has been overwhelmingly in support. And think of how many, what's the word I want to use, how many life events somehow associated around Browns. You know, whether it was grabbing a couple cigars for your bachelor party, whether it was the It's a Boy or It's a Girl cigars, you name it, and how many lives and how many people of our area, not just Corning, not just Steuben County, but from all over, have had such special times at Brown Cigar Store. So there you are. I've got to take a short break. So that's why I'm glad that I could fill you in. I hope I got all my information right, but there are people working, and we will keep you updated as we learn. Okay, we're going to talk about Iran when we return. Not as much, because we have to get to some New York State issues. We're going to hear from Congressman Nick Langworthy, and we're also going to hear from Elmira College. So still busy, very, very busy. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
A flight from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.
How was your day? Fun. Okay, what was the funniest thing that happened today?
Oh, yeah. I was sitting next to Piper at lunch, and she had this, chicken fish patty thing.
How we start a conversation matters. Text CONVO to 51550 for weekly conversation starters and connect more with parenting.org from board.
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Haken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning, the same Market Street, the home of Brown Cigar Store, who we were just talking about. Yes, we're getting a lot of outpouring here of comments. Definitely go support them. Say hi. Thank them for all the many 136 plus years of being the heartbeat of Corning. One viewer wrote in, was the trap set for the cigar store set by New York State-run Democrats or by the federal government? New York State. It was a New York State sting. But great question. Mark writes in, the fire that was going on during your show yesterday, someone died, a terrible thing. Yes, we learned later, and it was smoky throughout the whole program, through the broadcast. After the broadcast, I went up to see exactly what was happening because we were trying to give you all the information we had while we could live on the air. But yes, someone tragically lost their life, and we understand that some firefighters were injured, but they will recover. But a horrible thing. You're right, Mark. Comment. Sergeant Dave, I appreciate the comment. There are some typos in there, and I think you have a very important message that I don't want to misinterpret or read incorrectly. Would you mind going through that and maybe resending it? Just because I'm not sure exactly what you're saying, and I don't want to do a 180 on your point, because that would do no one a service. So I appreciate it, though, as always. We learned that Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, is little more than an empty entity who is not at the helm of the regime, according to Israeli National Security Forces. They have described it as a misfunctioning regime. The new leader is an empty entity. Mojtaba Khamenei does not appear in public, but we also have reliable information that he does not control or lead the regime, or what has been left of the regime. The current Iranian leadership is broken, confused, and is almost misfunctioning. We know that they've said there's chaos behind the scenes. Trump administration has considered deploying troops to Iranian shores along the Strait of Hormuz and Karag Island, according to a report. Reuters reporting this. The possibility of using U.S. troops to secure Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium has also been discussed. However, the deployment of ground forces anywhere in Iran is not believed to be imminent, the sources caution. The sources noted that all the operations being considered would be risky, as they would put U.S. troops within easy reach of Iran's missiles and drones. There's been no decision to send ground troops at this time, but President Trump wisely keeps all options at his disposal, said the White House. Now, we know that Israel's eye in the sky over Iran has targeted thousands of regime officials in hopes of sparking that uprising. I don't know if you saw the videos yesterday of Israeli troops calling some of these, what's the word I want to use, military operatives, Iran military operatives, calling them and saying, we know where you live, we know where your family lives, and they're all but surrendering, saying, no, I swear I'm not going to do anything. And the video goes on and on, but it was essentially saying, and there was quite a handful of different people saying that if the people uprise, they're not going to do anything to stop it. We'll see. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and I have circled the IDF, said Defense Minister Israel Katz, to eliminate any senior Iranian officials for whom the intelligence and operational circle has been closed, without the need for additional approval. We will continue to eliminate and hunt them all down. But this is like a story they had this at CNN yesterday by a different author. This is by Stephen Collinson, and I don't understand the logic. I'm no military mastermind, but how Israel's killing leaders in Iran could complicate Trump's search for an endgame. So this is the second time we've learned where killing Iran's leaders is going to prolong the war and be a bad thing. I guess I don't understand that. Ultimately, the strategy of decapitating the leadership will be judged less by who it kills than what it leaves behind. So again, this is like that idea, well, they're going to get the nuke anyway. Well, it's going to be a bad leader anyway. You don't know that. It's just amazing to me. They want Trump to be a failure on this so bad. And that's why, where is it? Here it is. The New York Post editorial board. And then we got to get ready for a statement from Congressman Langworthy. But the New York Post editorial board said, you never know it from media reports, but the Iranian regime is struggling to survive. That's what's left of it anyway. A, quote, drawn-out war could have, quote, catastrophic consequences, screams one New York Times report. Other outlets claim President Donald Trump fell into Iran's trap, and he's now stuck in a war of his own making. We're doomed. Step back and look at all the facts. Yes, Tehran, for now, has managed to halt shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, pushing up oil prices. But that's a tactic of desperation. Consider, as the United States systematically destroys Iran's military, Israel is methodically taking out regime leaders, top Revolutionary Guard figures, Baji goons, special police, and their command centers. Tuesday, U.S. forces dropped 5,000-pound bunker buster bombs on hardened Iranian missile sites near the Strait of Hormuz, targeting anti-ship cruise missiles and threatened shipping there. In the past few days alone, Israel took out several key figures, including a de facto top dog, Ali Lajarni. The Times fretted over that, portraying Lajarni as a relative pragmatist, someone the West could negotiate with, when the guy that just oversaw the execution of tens of thousands of innocent Iranians simply for protesting, that's his idea of pragmatism at the New York Times. But again, that's why you don't see the people in the street. There's something weird with the left on this. Why you don't see people in the street protesting in support of the Iranian people that have been brutalized by the regime. It's why they defend people like Ali Larijani. The Israel regime shrinkage campaign began with the killing of Supreme Leader Ayatollah al-Khamenei and numerous other bigwigs and marches steadily on. They cannot hide. U.S. forces have destroyed much of Iran's navy, missile, and drone stocks, military bases, and weapons manufacturing sites. Iran can't even show the world it's chosen a successor to Khamenei. His son, Mojtaba Khamenei, publicly has not been in the public, possibly because he's dead or seriously injured. The only thing we saw was a cardboard cutout of him at, I know I keep calling it Inauguration Day, and I know it's not that. But whatever that celebration was for him, and a written statement that someone read for him on the news. So he could be dead, could be gravely injured, or who knows. Its missile and drone attacks have waned. Its husband's dwindling supplies because every missile launch is quickly followed by the destruction of that launcher. That's a great point too. Anti-regime Iranians are helping Israel and the United States by providing their own intel, pointing out key targets. Defections and desertions are rising. The Wall Street Journal reports several Iranian forces sleeping in the nook by the stairs or housing themselves inside buses for fear of being struck. In a call with a Mossad agent, one commander swore on the Quran he wasn't Israel's enemy and begged the Jewish state to please come help us oust the regime, per a leaked phone call. That's the video I was telling you about earlier. The dead enders aren't yet ready to throw in the towels, but their renewed crackdown on dissent is yet another sign of the regime's fragility. Indeed, the Islamic Republic now seems destined to fall. Even if it's not by the war's end, at the least, it will be completely defanged, including the loss of any ability to close the strait. It's like Ernest Hemingway's description of how you go bankrupt, gradually, then suddenly. The biggest risk to the West now is buying the media hysteria and quitting too soon. And that's what the media is hoping for. They're hoping for a failure. We've seen it in the reporting time and time again. And that's why we mentioned it to you. Two last quick things on this. Children of Iran's regime leaders are educating America's students at colleges from New York to L.A. Iranian leaders, the same ones that call the United States the Great Satan, and burn effigies of President Trump in the streets. But their kids get to live over here and get to learn. Children of regime leaders and bigwigs are at prestigious universities across the U.S., including universities of Massachusetts, New York's Union College, and George Washington University. So they're students, they're educating. Sources said allowing people linked to the regime to assume such influential positions could present a threat to the U.S. values. Imagine when we talk about indoctrination, this is next level. They are teaching, and you can find this at the New York Post and see who exactly it is. They're teaching, they are being taught here. I would think that there would be a security risk, as Iranian academics have been critical in forming public opinions on the left in the U.S., essentially deceiving liberals into thinking that the regime is more progressive when it's still advancing the same hardline agenda. Amazing piece at the New York Post. The GOP did block Cory Booker's attempt to curb Trump's military authority in Iran. Senate Republicans blocked yet another bid by Senate Democrats to handcuff Trump's war authority in Iran in what could be an avalanche of similar moves to break through the GOP's floor takeover. Cory Booker triggered one of the several war powers resolutions Senate Democrats have tucked away in their bid to compel Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth to testify publicly about Trump's war in Iran. Booker told Fox News before the vote he was not thinking about this in politics or breaking through the GOP's floor tactics, but instead to refocus on issues that Trump promised to deal with on the campaign trail. Yes, that's what he's focused on. Anyway, we got to take a break. When we return, we're going to talk about the DHS shutdown. We have a clip from our congressman from yesterday's press conference. He's doing something, I think, pretty unique when it comes to the TSA. So we're going to talk about that before we play the clip. Then we do have a couple New York State issues. I hope we can get to all of it, because we're going to talk to, after we talk with the congressman, we are also going to hear from Elmira College about their upcoming dance marathon. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
At Carpenters, Phillips and We want people to know that we're a welcoming family.
We not only serve our community, but we live in our community. Our kids go to school here. It's not uncommon to see one of us at a local business or for a walk, at a sporting event.
The community here and everything it has to offer. I can't think of a better place to raise my children.
We are a part of this community and we're invested in this community.
Visit carpentersphillipsflint.com to learn more about our family-owned funeral homes.
I'm a veteran and she was injured in the line of duty.
I hurt my leg in a training accident when she was only 2 years old.
She had 7 different surgeries over the span of 9 years, and there were tons of complications.
I couldn't be the mom my kids needed me to be.
She missed so much.
After my last surgery, I got an infection so bad I thought it was going to kill me.
I told her she couldn't leave me yet. There was still so much she had to see. I hadn't even graduated.
I'm doing much better now. I'm an active part of my kids' lives.
She can kick a mean soccer ball.
DAV's been there for me and my family. Through thick and thin, they've had our back.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans like Sandy get the health and disability benefits they've earned so they can achieve victories great and small.
My victory is getting my life back. I may have lost my leg, but I've gained so much. I got my joy back.
We got our mom back, thanks to DAV.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
There, after a couple of cooler days, we do return near average today in the mid-40s with mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, bottoming out in those upper 20s and low 30s. Will be generally dry, and then on Friday, this is where we have the opportunity for some showers arriving in the afternoon, topping off in the low 50s. Rain continuing Friday night into Saturday. Then we have additional showers possible on Sunday. The weekend features 50s, a bit cooler by Monday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. We're going to hear from Congressman Langworthy in just a second, but the DHS shutdown has caused at least $2.5 billion in losses thus far. And again, Democrats can't explain, and this is why the media doesn't like to report on it. The Democrats can't explain what their end game is here. It's hurting TSA agents. As a matter of fact, according to a piece, why does it sound weird to me? According to a piece, I think it was out of the maybe Daily Mail or the Sun, that TSA agents are being forced to sell blood to afford to go to work, as 50,000 are going without pay under the shutdown chaos. Now, CNN's trying to spin it as if it's the Republicans' fault. But just think about that. DHS shutdown has caused at least $2.5 billion in losses so far, but damage expected to be far worse, according to economists. So the reason I mention this is because of the TSA officers, and they feel like they're being used as political pawns, and they are, but it's not by Republicans. Republicans want to pay the TSA. The employees have become political pawns in their increasingly frequent Washington battles, missing paychecks as lawmakers jockey to see who will take the blame for the pain inflicted. Lawmakers blame opponents for TSA workers going unpaid. How can you, well, Senator Katie Boyd Britt, Republican from Alabama, said Democrats are to blame for making TSA employees miss more than 2 months of paychecks during the recent shutdown. This is absolutely unacceptable. Democrats need to end their political posturing, stop using our TSA agents as political pawns, and fully fund DHS. And again, to my point is that I don't think they're winning, meaning the Democrats, is because the media is barely reporting on this. Republicans want all of DHS funded, while Democrats want immigration reform included, or will support partial funding, leaving out money for immigration and customs enforcement, as well as customs and border protection. I don't want to read any more of this. We can, and if we have time, we'll read some more of the comments on this. But I want to get to Congressman Langworthy. So yesterday he had a press conference because he has introduced what's called the Pay TSA Act of 2026 to ensure TSA workforce can receive paychecks during government shutdowns. So yesterday he held a press conference on this, and just to explain a little bit here what it's going to look like. It's just audio at first. I had an issue with the recording, so it's just audio of his kind of introduction, and then it goes to video of me asking a question during the press conference. But just to tell you a little bit about it, the Pay TSA Act of 2026 would ensure Transportation Security Administration officers continue receiving pay and the airport security operations remain fully functional during government shutdowns by utilizing the existing 9/11 passenger security fee already paid by airline travelers. So there you go. Let's hear. Let me get this all queued up. Let's hear from Congressman Langworthy. After that, right around 7:25-ish probably now, if I do my math right, we're going to hear from Elmira College. So we're getting really busy. Keep those comments coming in. Here is Congressman Nick Langworthy in regards to his Pay TSA Act of 2026.
For the delay. We had a congressional hearing that went a little long, but good afternoon and thank you all for joining us today. Today marks day 34 of Senate Democrats' Department of Homeland Security shutdown. Frankly, this is just reckless. It's dangerous and it's causing irreparable harm across the country. And I've been fighting against this shutdown from the very beginning, as I fight against all government shutdowns. They don't work, they don't accomplish anything. But shuttering the Department of Homeland Security and all the essential agencies that are contained within it is a new low. DHS is not just Border Patrol. It's our entire Immigrations and Customs operation. It's the Coast Guard. It's FEMA. It's our counterterrorism and cyber threat units. And it's the TSA. And I don't care what political party you're in. No one who's been elected to serve should ever, ever use our national security as a political bargaining chip. And the 100,000 hardworking men and women who serve in these critical capacities should never be used as political pawns. They are required by law to still come into work during these shutdowns. But for the third time in just 6 months, TSA agents have been forced to work without pay. For 43% of the fiscal year, they have been working without receiving their regular paychecks. That is just plain cruel. This is placing tremendous hardship on them and their families. Many are resorting to gift cards from the public for groceries and gas. They're missing mortgage payments. They're missing their credit card payments. They're missing their auto payments. They are faced with the impossible choice of not paying bills or resigning from a job that they've dedicated their careers to. We have lost more than 300 TSA agents as a result of this shutdown. And what do Senate Democrats have to say about the plight that they've imposed upon them? They're very serene about what's going on. Chaos is gripping our airports, and families can't even put food on the table that have good jobs. They're not getting paid. If you are comfortable with this, then you have no business in public office and should resign immediately. It should be clear to everyone that Senate Democrats are far more concerned with catering to the radical activists in their base than they are about the harm that they are causing to our country. And while I'll keep fighting against government shutdowns, we cannot afford to allow this crisis to continue without taking action. And that's why I have introduced key legislation to ensure that our TSA agents can continue to receive their paychecks and airport security operations can remain fully functional even during shutdowns when they come up. The Pay TSA Act of 2026 is a common sense fix to this problem and uses an existing government fund. Every purchase of an airline ticket has a nominal 9/11 passenger security fee attached to it. It's $5.60 for one way and $11.20 for a round trip to support aviation security and the mission of the TSA. And it was implemented after 9/11. But currently, the TSA and operations and personnel can't use that fund and still depend on annual appropriations processes, making them vulnerable to government shutdowns. The Pay TSA Act of 2026 would address this gap by ending the diversion of passenger-paid security fee revenues away from aviation security and instead dedicating those funds directly to a sustaining TSA operations. Specifically, this legislation would establish a Transportation Security Trust Fund to ensure that the security fees collected from travelers are used exclusively for aviation security purposes. In the event of a lapse, a government shutdown, the trust fund would allow TSA officers to continue receiving pay and support the continuity of airport screening and security operations. Under my bill, funding would be first prioritized to compensate TSA personnel, and any remaining funds could then be used to strengthen aviation security through investments in technology upgrades and airport infrastructure improvements. By making this bill law, we will send a huge message to the men and women of the TSA that we actually value and respect their service, that we won't treat their lives as political pawns in a game, which is what's going on now, unfortunately. We will give them the invaluable peace of mind that they will never have to worry again about how they're going to make ends meet, even though they have a good-paying job. We vowed to never forget the lessons of 9/11. And that's the reason that we have this fund, and that's why this fee is charged to every airline passenger. It's the reason we have the TSA in the first place, because they provide the vital first line of defense to keep our skies safe from terrorism. That screening is crucial. They are on the front lines of our national security, and we owe them so much better than they have right now. We have to act swiftly to right this wrong. Every day that goes by, morale continues to sink lower and lower, and it's having a profound impact on recruitment and retention. Americans are experiencing up to 4 hours wait times in some cities. We're facing estimates up to $1 billion a week in losses to the travel economy. We are putting a huge strain on the system, which puts our national security at risk. This is a national security crisis waiting to happen. Passing this bill and signing it into law is a no-brainer. It's essential to our security, it's essential to our workforce, and it's just the right thing to do. So with that, I'll take any questions from our friends in the media, and I want to thank you for your interest in our topic today.
Congressman Frank Acom, Big Fox Corning. A quick question for you. I know that you have a lot of, in your district, you have a lot of members of the TSA, workers in the TSA. What would you say to those that are struggling right now?
Well, I feel terrible for them. I have voted every time that bill has come before me to fund their positions. I voted for it. So I don't vote for shutdowns. When we do continuing resolutions, that is the responsible thing that needs to be done. And they need to, the public needs to come out in these workers' defense and call our senators and say, it's time that we get back to the business of the American people. Have your disagreements with the White House, but holding people hostage in the name of your political agenda when you're the minority party is not the American way. The majority worked with the minority to negotiate these spending bills, and then they walked away from the deal on this last department. We have funded, in a bipartisan fashion, all the rest of the appropriations bills. The Department of Homeland Security is the only thing that hasn't been funded, and it's one of the absolute most vital agencies, especially when we have a time of international conflict in Iran, and the threat to the homeland is perhaps worse than any time in recent years. This is playing with fire. My heart goes out to all those TSA workers. I know when I go to the airport in Buffalo, when I fly to Washington, I thank them all profusely for what they're doing. I think they know who's with them and who's not with them, and who says one thing and then does another. And the hypocrisy here in Washington is off the charts.
Thank you to Congressman Nick Langworthy. I thought you would appreciate that. And as this viewer writes in, that bill needs to be passed now. This is a ridiculously cruel thing to do to those that we depend on for national security. If we have a chance, I know I have to take a break. Senator John Kennedy has a really good piece saying Democrats are gambling with our lives by not funding DHS. Now, that's overall DHS. What Congressman Langworthy is asking for here is to make sure that our TSA agents are paid during a shutdown. Like he said, he doesn't believe in shutdowns to begin with. But we got other comments coming in, but I do appreciate that, and it was very relevant to what had just been said. But when we return, we are going to hear from Elmira College. Actually, that's coming up in a little bit. We're going to have another quick segment, and then we're going to hear from Elmira College. So stay with us. We'll read your comments when we return. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Give kids time. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
The only thing more American than apple pie and 4th of July is baseball. This year, WYDC is bringing you 25 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer. No fees and no subscription services. Tune into WJKP 48.2 to watch the New York Mets this MLB season. Let's go Mets!
It's Chip and March at our Declaration of Deals event. Right now at Chilson Wilcox, save $10,000 on Ram 1500 during Truck Month. Choose from 25 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokees on the lot. Save $8,800. Or get 0% for 60 months or no payments for 90 days. Take advantage of loyalty and conquest offers, plus $2,000 in sell-down bonus cash. Declaration of Deals Championship and March event, now at Chilson Wilcox. Don't miss it. Hurry in today before the buzzer sounds.
Can you help me?
Mom, Dad, we're going out.
Thank you.
Oh, look, they're playing chess.
What you got there?
Will you help my mom?
She's real sick, huh? Hey, crew, I'll give the first move to anyone who signs up to be an organ donor. How do you do it?
Easy. Just go to organdonor.gov.
You heard them, organdonor.gov.
More donors means more hope. Sign up at
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Just a quick question. We know that there is a plethora of fake news propaganda machines here in the United States. But other than Fox News, are there any other news outlets that report news fairly? That's a great question. I know a lot of people, conservative-wise, I would just tell you to watch Fox right here all day. The station that I work for, that's Big Fox all day. But I know online there's people go to various outlets. I don't have any specifics to point you to. I would say that most of my research for this program actually comes from, I guess you could say, the opposition, the mainstream media, because I want to see what they're saying and weed through their lies and misinformation. But it's a good question if anyone wants to write in. Mark writes in, have you noticed the media has toned down on bashing the war and Trump some after they were threatened to not have their license renewed? Yeah, that seems to be kind of the, I guess, carrot and the stick. I don't know. It seems to be working. Comments from a different viewer. In regards to you speaking on Iran leaders not being able to return, if we remember, Trump defeated ISIS. Biden gave Afghanistan away and ISIS came back. Putting a stop to this is complicated at best. That's fair. Comment from a different viewer. Down with New York State Democrat tyranny. Here's to the 51st state, upstate New York. Thank you very much. And finally, comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. The Brown Cigar Shop news is another slap in the face from the leaders of New York that continue to drive residents and businesses to other states. The state now loses a tax-paying business owner, along with the revenue from lottery tickets and tobacco sales. Online tobacco sales from other states win again. You're right. Or people that drive to Pennsylvania right across the border, right? And yet, and having, in the past, having to deal with it right next door to our building, so many illegal pot shops still continuing to thrive in our area. But you harass the guys and ladies that have been working there and keeping that place running for, I think they said in their family, about 80 years, but overall 137 years, Brown Cigar Store, and you go after them. That's the mom and pop store. That's who you go after numerous times to set up, I guess, a sting operation. Well, there you go. But not the illegal pot shops. Keep that in mind. Not the non-tax-paying entities. You go after the taxpayers, the ones that have the lotto machines, the one that are getting all that sales tax from cigars and cigarettes. But no, that's who you harass. Okay. One quick thing, just because we talked about it with Congressman Langworthy, and then we got to move on and hear from Amara College. But Senator John Kennedy says, my Democratic colleagues have opposed President Trump's agenda at every turn, and that's their right. But their decision to shut down the Department of Homeland Security isn't some harmless act of political gamesmanship. It's incredibly dangerous. In the 1 month since Democrats voted to deny funding to DHS, the United States has faced at least 4 apparent terrorist attacks. And we're not going to go through each of these. But it boils down to this. We all know some Democrats hate President Trump more than the devil hates holy water. But we've seen 4 apparent terrorist attacks in 2 weeks. The Department of Homeland Security isn't a pawn in a political game. We need these officers focused on spotting sleeper cells, not their missing paychecks. To my Democrat colleagues, don't wait for another attack to get serious about protecting America's security. Reopen the DHS now. Okay, when we return, we're going to hear from Elmira College. We also then, after that, we have a lot of New York State issues. I hope we can get to all of them. I see that Governor Hochul is begging wealthy New Yorkers to come back as Mayor Mamdani is pressuring her to hike their taxes. We may talk about that, but like I said, New York, a lot of things about the climate policies. By the way, speaking of which, don't forget, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be on the program tomorrow, so don't miss that. It's Fridays with Phil. We always look forward to that. All right, now we take our break. Stay with us. Elmira College, when we return. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. Stay with us.
Ferrari Auto Team. Google reviews rank Ferrari Jeep the highest customer experience Jeep dealer in our area. Returning Stellantis lessee, lease a new Grand Cherokee Laredo X, just $329 per month. $19.99 due at signing, only $329 a month, and it's yours. Check out all your Jeep favorites during our declaration of deals.
If you don't see me, I can't save you any money.
Visit Ferrari Jeep in Elmira now during our Declaration of Deals event.
Yeah, hello. I'm really not sure if this is what you all do, but I really don't have anywhere else to turn.
Hi. I don't even know why I'm calling right now. I'm sorry. My thoughts are going a mile a minute.
My kids are out of state. My buddies from the Army are all gone now. I'm really alone.
I left the service last year. My mom just passed away a few months ago. I miss so much time with her. I keep getting calls about the bills, and I'm trying to get a job, but I feel so stuck.
Okay, ma'am. I'm glad you called.
Okay, sir. Let's stay on the line and walk through some things.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hi there. After a couple of cooler days, we do return near average today in the mid-40s with mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, bottoming out in those upper 20s and low 30s. Will be generally dry, and then on Friday, this is where we have the opportunity for some showers arriving in the afternoon, topping off in the low 50s. Rain continuing Friday night into Saturday. Then we have additional showers possible on Sunday. The weekend features 50s, a bit cooler by Monday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio, we're going to be talking about the Elmira College Dance Marathon. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Thanks so much for being on. Now, tell us a little bit. You're the leader of the Elmira College Dance Marathon Club. Tell us about the club itself.
So the club itself raises money for the Children's Miracle Network, and that contributes to a local NICU. So ours is for the Arnett NICU in Elmira. And then the club itself, we have a lot of fundraisers throughout the entire year. So we do like things on campus. Like right now we're running like a Spoon Assassins, like Senior Assassins event.
Okay.
But we do like fun things throughout the year that all get contributed to this final event that's in a couple weeks.
So all the fundraisers that you do all year all go to Arnett Ogden Medical Center,
Yes.
Children's Miracle Network. Has the marathon ever had a different charity that they've worked for?
No, so the dance marathons are through the Children's Miracle Network.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So how long have you been involved and now being the leader of the club?
So I've been involved for 4 years. I've been an executive for 3 years. Okay. And then this is my first year being like the overall executive.
How's it feel?
It's definitely a lot different, but it's still a lot of fun.
Yeah, would you say the planning's been going pretty well this year?
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot so far. We're kind of wrapping up a lot of the stuff. We started our like tech weeks of decoration, like preparation yesterday. So we're really starting to start making all of our like decorations and games and stuff that we're going to have.
And I want to find out about that because there's a lot more to this than just a dance marathon. But again, the event is Saturday, March 28th from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. at St.
Yes.
Anthony's Gym, Elmira College campus. So what are kind of, for lack of a better word, what are the rules?
So anybody can come in. We have registration there, and it's $10 for individuals, and then we have a family discount for $15. So you come in, you register, and with that registration, you get to come in and do kind of a lot of stuff. It includes lunch and dinner if you want to stay the whole time.
Oh, wow.
And then we have a bunch of different games and like fun things for kids and for adults to do. So this year our theme is Sports Fest, so we have a lot of like sports themed games, and we're going to have a lot of our athletic teams help volunteer at it. But we also have like a big bounce house for kids to do. We have like drawing things.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of like fun.
So it's a family-friendly event. I mean, it's really not, again, you think dance marathon, there's so much more to it than that.
Yes.
Do you find that when people show up, they stay for the most of the time?
A lot of people do stay for a while, especially the people with the younger kids, they don't.
Yeah,
but
of course.
throughout the entire day, we have families coming in who have been in the Arnett NICU, and the families come in, and this year about every half hour we're going to have a miracle hour where they're going to talk about their experience. So a lot of people will come and speak at that or come and see those and then stay for a little bit longer to just have some fun.
Well, it's amazing. If you look at last year, you raised $10,654.80. You can't forget that part. But from the beginning, just back to 2015, so 11 years, more than $71,000. That's very impressive.
Yeah, and
is that why you wanted to be a part of it?
yeah, so I became a part of it during my freshman year of college. One of the people in the club reached out to me and asked if I wanted to be the finance executive, and that's what I've been doing the past couple of years, is keeping track of all of that. So it's been really cool to see, like, throughout all the years, the differences between like how much we're getting, because we've been getting even more the past couple of years than we were in the earlier years.
Have you found even in your 4 years, has it grown a lot from the first one?
Yes, it definitely has since the 2022 event. We've steadily gotten over our $10,000 goal for the past 2 years.
Oh, that's great.
But we've also gotten a lot more people coming, and we're hoping to get a lot more like kids from the community coming, even if they're not affected by the NICU, but just coming to help raise money for their local hospital and just get to do some fun events.
Well, that's a good question. What do the crowds look like? How big, at its peak, how many people would you say are there?
I would say probably like 30 to 40.
Okay.
Sometimes we have just a bunch of the kids, and then our student volunteers. Last year we had over 50 Elmira College students volunteering at the event, and they're helping at the tables, helping play with the kids, and just helping the event run smoothly, but also like having fun themselves.
Can people still volunteer?
Yeah, so the volunteers are Elmira College students, but
okay. I see.
Other people can come in and just do whatever they want. Anybody can come in and play.
So open to the public.
Yes.
How can I become involved? Let's say I'm not going to dance. Let's say I put that to the side.
Yeah.
Can I still be involved?
Yeah, so we have an online donor drive registration and donation area. So if you Google Elmira College Dance Marathon 2026, it'll come up right there, and there will be a place for you to either register or donate.
Okay.
To do that.
And should you register if you're going to attend?
You can also register when you get there, but if you want to pre-register, you can do that and then not have to worry about it, but most people register when they get there.
And you said you can donate online. Is there other ways to donate, or pretty much online or in person is the best?
Online or in person. We get a lot during the day.
Sure.
But we also have a big raffle of a lot of local businesses and everything. They donate a lot of stuff for people to raffle off. So we have that. We have just places for donations. We have like pie in the face events to hit our professors and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a lot to be able to contribute to.
How do you get the professor to agree to that?
We beg them.
But
this year we're trying to get a lot of the coaches to do it because it is sports themed and it's more fun to hire a coach.
That's true. Where did you come up with the theme?
So we last year our theme was fantasy, and we got a lot of kids through that, but we were thinking, how can we get more of the community in? So we were thinking sports are a really good like place to get people to come in and like do a game. So all of our little games throughout the whole thing are going to be like centered on a sport, but they're built for like little kids to be able to still do even if they can't do the real sport.
So as we mentioned, this is family friendly. It's open to the public, not just Elmira College community. Bouncy house, relays, games, scavenger hunt, and more. So this is going to be an exhausting day for you, I would assume.
Yeah, we start early and stay late.
Because it starts at 10 a.m., runs till 8 p.m. on Saturday, March 28th. Yeah, what's your day look like?
It's very long. We're going to start probably about 6:30 or 7 in the morning to start setup.
Sure.
And then we usually only spend like half an hour to an hour cleaning up, but throughout the whole day, we have 13 executives that are helping run it, and then we have a bunch of the volunteers, but us executives kind of run around the whole day trying to organize everything, get in contact with the parents, making sure they know what they're doing, when they're talking, where they need to go. But we also have a lot of time where we just hang out and play games.
And take it all in, right?
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned there's other fundraisers through the years. When this is over, is that it for the school year, or will there be more?
There will be a couple more on our campus, but throughout the year, the donor drive stays open for a couple weeks past the event if anybody wants to donate after, and then usually next year's is put up around June or July. So there's a bit of a gap. Are you gonna miss it? I am gonna miss it. It's gonna be weird not having it anymore, but
yeah, I would imagine, because you've been a part of it. I mean, that's pretty impressive for 4 years.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you come up with the other fundraisers, that's got to be throughout the year. Is that difficult to do all of this? But I mean, I guess essentially that's what the club's all about, right?
Yeah, it is. And we did it so that all of the executives run a different event. So we had like 10 to 13 events this year. So we're all running a different thing. But a lot of them are like fun things of like little grams that we write to other students and professors and stuff. So it keeps us busy throughout the year. This year we sat at a lot of our sports events and had a table for people to like set up and like just give donations if they wanted.
So again, it's coming up Saturday, March 28th, 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. That's a long day. St. Anthony's Gym, Elmira College campus. When it's all over, what does it look like for you the next day?
I usually sleep for a while. Yeah. And then as the finance executive, I usually get together all of the extra stuff, and we put together one big check to give to the Arnett Hospital.
Oh, and to have the picture?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so one last, I know I've asked it a few times, and I'm going to ask it one more time just because it's such an important cause. How can people help?
So they can donate online through Elmira College Dance Marathon 2026. If you Google that, our Facebook's right there, and our donor drive page, so you can go through either one. And really just coming out and
supporting it. And again, you can just sit back and relax and take it all in, because it'll be fun to watch everybody having fun. Yeah. So if that's your idea of a good time, that sounds like it should be, again, Saturday, March 28th, 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. Thanks so much for being on the program. Best of luck with everything. And I think that does it, right? We covered everything.
Yep.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
At Simmons Rockwell, you'll find brand new 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo X 4x4s for only $36,999 during the Declaration of Deals event going on now at Simmons Rockwell Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Bath.
We are the keepers of the wild, America's original and most invested conservationists. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving wildlife and the natural landscapes that define our nation. From rugged alpine ridgelines to peaceful tall grass prairies, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. Our funding has led to cleaner water, fresher air, and improved wildlife habitat. From abundant fish and waterfowl populations to robust deer and elk herds, nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters, stewards of the American outdoors.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We want to thank our guests from Elmira College, for being on the program. We got a couple comments from viewers, and then we're going to talk about New York State issues to wrap up today's edition. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Rick. Well, old Donald has really screwed this Iranian deal up. is without a doubt the result of poor planning and not getting Congress involved in the planning process. Yes, because Congress is known for their their success rate. We learned long ago at Corning to gather all the stakeholders of a change or action together to proactively discuss what would go wrong and how to deal with it. This process wasn't one of those things you did if you felt like it. We followed these requirements each and every time, just like consulting Congress about aggression should be. Wait a minute, it's supposed to be. Next biggest problem next to Trump is the spineless Republicans on the Hill that think that fearing retribution from Trump is more important than doing what is right. Again, I don't buy that idea, the fearing retribution concept. Just interjecting. I believe that is going under the concept of nothing Trump does is right in someone's mind, so there could be no one that supports him. That was the same mindset the Democrats had going into the last election. Cost them. So to suggest that they're all scared, right? They're all scared. Well, there's no way they could support these actions, right? But Trump has himself in a giant mess this time, and continuing with what Rick said, and no one is going to step up and bail him out. Unfortunately, our servicemen and women, their families, and all of us have to suffer for Trump's bird brain mentality. Again, Patel and Langford exchange was rehearsed for the Senate Intel testimony Wednesday. Gabbard won't answer questions to her from the Democrats. They won't cross Trump, zero backbone. Again, this idea of, tell me the time during the Biden administration when you had someone in his administration that turned on him. So would you say that everybody in the Biden administration was a loyalist, had no spine, had no backbone? I mean, the different set of rules that you impose on Trump is just remarkable to not see the kind of the hypocrisy of that, because you had people in the Biden administration telling us that he was mentally fit and doing very well up until that debate, until the American people could see what we were dealing with. So this idea of loyalists and they have no backbone to fight Trump, tell me where the loyalists, the non-loyalists and the people that had backbone fought Biden was. Get out of here. Does Iran, continue with Rick, does Iran pose an imminent nuclear threat to the United States? Question mark. Trump fundraising email floating around out there with a picture of a casket of a deceased soldier is nothing short of pathetic. Who does that? Come on, Rick. Comment from a different viewer. All the Democrats hate Trump because they can't tell him what to do and they can't use the auto pen to pass whatever they want. Thank you very much. Keep those comments coming in. So New York's all-electric building law sits in legal limbo as housing costs and grid pressure mounts. Now, the electricity demand is climbing fast in here in New York State, and everyone agrees the state needs more power, but disagreement remains over where it should come from. This is coming from Noah Love, writing the New York Independent System Operators 2025 Power Trends Report warns that data centers, artificial intelligence facilities, and the push to electrify homes and cars are driving demand higher, while aging power plants are going offline faster than new ones can replace them. At the center of the debate is the All-Electric Buildings Act. State Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, who's going to be on the program tomorrow, a Republican representing the 132nd Assembly District, says fossil fuels must remain part of the state's energy mix. We need reliable baseload generation, and natural gas needs to be a part of that mix. Hochul agreed to delay implementation of the law in November. The law will not be considered until at least September, after the election. I'm sure it'll go through. Palmisano said it's not important to be first, it's important to do it right. Exactly. Now, the state legislature faces some tough decisions on the climate law as the costs loom for New Yorkers. Governor Hochul said people in our state are getting slammed and they need relief. There's a way to get there. We need to, but just in a different time frame. So that's just basically saying after the election, we'll deal with the higher bills. A little bit more on this when we return. Keep those comments. Oh, you know what's interesting? Hold on real quick, because we're going to tell you about a piece by Matt Richter from Westchester Journal News about these electric mandates that are coming through. But when Governor Hochul tries to make a change for this, because she realizes it's disastrous for a campaign, she realizes that people are leaving in droves because they can't afford their electric and gas bills, these type of things. Even when she tries to make minuscule changes, I get pieces like this from Earth Justice. After 3 weeks of fear-mongering on cost, governor admits that the climate law isn't driving up energy bills. She said at a press conference, the false narrative is that I'm telling people their utility rates are higher because of CLCPA. That would be a stupid thing to say because it's not in effect yet. In response, Liz Morin, New York policy advocate at Earth Justice, said if reneging on the climate law won't actually lower anyone's bills, why is she doing it? The war is driving up gas prices, and the governor's plan is to stick New Yorkers with the bill. So they end up sending out a press release. I mean, her own people, and this is why she's so fearful of kind of that extreme left, because her own people on the left are criticizing her, mocking her, because she has the audacity to say that New Yorkers are going to leave in droves because of these costs, which we all know is true. We've met them. We've talked with them. So as we act for environmental justice, as Eric Walker put it, Doreen Harris is right about one thing. No one should implement the extreme, unrealistic scenario described by NYSERDA's memo. The Cap and Invest program outlined in NYSERDA's memo is worst-case scenario and has none of the most cost containment tools that have made similar programs work across the country. We wouldn't support it either. So she is losing support because she wants to make minuscule changes. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay with us, and we're going to wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking after this.
Month after month, year after year, even decades you've paid into the insurance system. You've done your part. But when you're seriously injured in a car accident or another tragedy, that system turns its back. Insurance companies care more about pumping up profits and stock prices than paying for your medical bills, your lost wages, or your recovery. At WYDC Injury Law, we fight to make them pay what's fair. If you've been hurt in New York or Pennsylvania, call 607-500-HURT. Don't let the insurance companies win.
Dear Coach. Dear Coach. Dear Coach, they don't teach you that inner strength is the most important kind of strong. But you taught me that.
They don't teach you how to build confidence in yourself or how to deal with all the pressures all at once. But you taught me that.
First tee was more than golf. It's where I discovered what I'm capable of.
You didn't just prepare me for 18 holes. You were preparing me for every day of my life. Learn more at firsttee.org.
There, after a couple of cooler days, we do return near average today in the mid-40s with mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, bottoming out in those upper 20s and low 30s. Will be generally dry, and then on Friday, this is where we have the opportunity for some showers arriving in the afternoon, topping off in the low 50s. Rain continuing Friday night into Saturday. Then we have additional showers possible on Sunday. The weekend features 50s, a bit cooler by Monday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. This is a perfect comment from a viewer just before we talk about this piece about the electric bus. Well, if New York State goes to electric buses, maybe kids will lose weight because they'll be forced to walk more often when buses run out of power short of the school or short of their home destination. I agree with that. So Matt Richter said state of the state speeches are supposed to tell us what politicians' policy prescriptions are for the challenges that face us. Usually, they're more aspirational than informative. If you want the real story, you must look at the corresponding budget proposal. This week, the state, Senate, and Assembly proposed their alternatives to Hochul's budget in the form of so-called one-house budget proposals, and they tell a tale that lower Hudson Valley residents will likely not be happy to hear. It's not just there, it's everywhere. Because Democrats control both houses of the legislature, the whole process is essentially back to New York's infamous three-men-in-a-room dynamic between Hochul, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, and Carl Hastie. So far, Democrat leadership in both houses of the legislature does not seem ready to stand with us regular New Yorkers against the radical environmental wing of their party. The Republicans in both the state, Senate, and Assembly, long in the minority, are basically relegated to making up an up or down vote on a budget they have little influence over. Republican State Senator William Weber from Rockland County talked about the one-house proposal. He is one of only 2 certified public accountants serving in the legislature. He is the ranking Republican on the State Senate Budget and Revenue Committee, and he's also a member of the State Senate's Education Committee. And they go through this and they talk about the costs. I know I'm running late. He says that Democrats are looking to raise taxes by about $5.6 billion. But New York Democrats are known for including non-fiscal policies in the budget. Remember bail reform and raise the age. Many Albany legislators, including Weber, were hoping to see some reform to the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, or CLCPA. In particular, some were worried about one measure that is about to crush property taxpayers in New York. It requires that starting in 2027, every single new school bus purchased in New York must be electric. There are some extensions allowed that could move that out to 2029. When funding something like a fleet of buses, especially electric buses that cost exponentially more than diesel or gas-fueled varieties, school districts will need more time than that to source and finance the vehicles. According to the nonpartisan Empire Center for Public Policy, small diesel or gas buses cost about $71,000. The same size electric bus will cost taxpayers $259,000. $71,000 to $259,000. The larger buses will cost $412,000 for electric compared to the $158,000 for a gas or diesel bus. While the cost of purchasing the electric fleet is staggering, the operational cost could be worse, because you have things like maintenance, upkeep, you have the charging stations. The report suggests an investment between $42 million and $46 million would be required to electrify the fleet and build the necessary charging infrastructure for the Yorktown School District. That's just that district, $42 million and $46 million. Annual electricity cost to charge the fleet is estimated at $592,000. I know these numbers are staggering. The current annual gasoline cost $120,000, so $120,000 to $592,000, and this will have to be approved during the budgets, the school process. Slater called the electric bus mandate a tax cap buster. He said that New York school districts are unable to deal with upcoming teacher contract negotiations because they have no idea what the ultimate cost will be to electrify their bus fleets. When faced with the massive unfunded mandates, municipalities will have only one place to go for the funding. You guessed it, property taxpayers. As with many of the CLCPA's mandates, the technology isn't just ready for the transition. The final budget, due April 1st. Unless the governor and legislative leaders confront the unrealistic timelines and costs embedded in the CLCPA, school districts and ultimately taxpayers will be left in an awful financial predicament. Delaying the electric bus mandate isn't just reasonable, it's necessary. That does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to Congressman Nick Langworthy for being on the program. We want to thank our representative from Elmira College. We do appreciate them for being on the program. Final comment from a viewer. It's a huge money laundering scam, says Ken, about the EVs. We appreciate that. Have a great day. Join us tomorrow. It's Fridays with Phil. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be our guest. And just tune in every weekday morning starting at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We'll see you tomorrow morning bright and early. Look forward to it already.